Greetings and welcome back to the lab. Today, I want to do another build, and this is a little bit of a preview of what I'm doing. This is with using the breadboard to kind of figure it out and a couple other things. I want to build this. I've been asking what people think it is. It's a TV. I'm working on it on a TV, a scale model TV. Now, this is just the first iteration, the first phase, and let me actually unplug this. You can see I've got some color changing LEDs running here, but I want to concentrate on certain parts of this. So this is the 3D print I did, and I'll go ahead and pull out this diffusion material. This is an interesting material. You can kind of see it's shiny. Now this material that I am using actually comes out of a TV, but it comes out of an old LCD TV, a flat panel, typical sort of nowadays typical TV. Comes out of that. The TV was broken, it wasn't working, so I started disassembling it, kind of like my spare parts series. I was curious what I could harvest from it, and among the things I harvested was a sheet, a TV-sized sheet of this material, which is just diffuse on one side, but it's also shiny on the other side. I'm hoping that's kind of coming through. And so what I did was I've cut it down to pieces that will fit in here, and when I did the first one, I just used one sheet of it. For the second one, I'm using two sheets of it, and I just cut it down to size. It's just flexible enough. I can just kind of stick it in there and try to, without putting a crease in it, getting it past these corners here, which are set up in such a way that I can actually put the circuit board, and the circuit board is custom made to match. This was I did a whole video on this about I screwed up, and it was about the fact that without really thinking too much about it, I sent off to have the 3D print done, and I sent off to have the circuit board done without double checking that the two would fit inside one another. And so ultimately I ended up with two circuit boards being made and multiple 3D prints being done. So this is kind of the circuit board manufactured to match the 3D print that was made. Anyway, so that's that. And the other thing was it's all on 12 volts, and I'm going to try and unplug this here so you can kind of see. This is my breadboard test, because the circuit board itself uses, the way this circuit board is configured, I've got 1, 2, 3 in series, and then I got the next 3 also in series, and so I have a resistor for each of those. So 3 in series plus a resistor, 12 volts. 3 in series plus a resistor, 12 volts. And so it just keeps going all the way down like that. These are the slow color changing LEDs. They're already diffused, and then I'm adding additional layers of diffusion. And it occurred to me that actually I could print a front lens here out of this same white material. The downside of this material is that the light will just shine right through it, as opposed to a black plastic, which it doesn't go through. So I'm going to have to figure out some way of blocking the light from coming through so it doesn't look like the sides of this are glowing. I really want this to look kind of like a TV, with the only thing that's displaying is this center part here. I don't want the edges to be reflecting. So that may not be a possibility. I may have to, my main thought here is I can take electrical tape and wrap it around, I can either wrap it around the outside or I can try and fit it on the inside. Let's just see. So maybe we'll try that, and we'll come back to it a little bit later. But I want to start building this circuit board, and to do that, I need a couple more things. I need the actual LEDs, B, I need the resistors, and C, I need some flux. And for that, I have another package to unwrap. And is this what I'm expecting it to be? There's the flux. And I'll be right back. Okay. For the moment, I'm going to let that slide, and we're going to do this the hard way. So let's move forward with this. I've got this particular circuit board, and I've got my variety of resistors. And after some experimentation with the breadboard, I ended up settling on a 1.5K resistor. So let's see, in this craziness, if I can find a 1.5K. 1.5. There we go. We found it. Let's put all the rest of them back. So let's see what I've got for solder that I can use. And I'm going to bring in the magnifying glass, hopefully without moving the camera too much, so I can see what I'm doing. So what I'm going to do, and I'm hoping this will come through. Let's see. You've got a reasonable shot of that. So I can look through my magnifying glass with the light, and I'm going to put a little bead of solder on one side of each one of these. Okay. Got that. Clean the tip. Put it away for a minute. These are 1.5K. I don't want this to be too bright. I've already built one of these just as a test. And what I learned was, well, the other displays that I built in the past that weren't enclosed in a case like this, those displays, I wanted them to be good and bright, maybe without being excessively bright, because I don't want to waste energy. Let's just try a couple of these to start. And of course, they land sideways. But what I learned was, when you put it inside that case, it's concentrating the light. So you actually want to dim it quite a bit for this particular project. The problem is if you dim it too much with an RGB animated light like I have, the problem you run into is if you go too low, then you get the red and the green but no blue. And you can't really call it RGB if you don't have blue. Let's get this first one on. We'll go through all 10 of these. 10 of these? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep, 10 of these. And we'll come back on the other end. All right, I'm back. Readjust the light a little bit here. It's just going to reflect off my glasses. All right, so it's a bit of a mess, but I got all 10 of them on there. I need to actually put this away here. Next, we're going to need some LEDs. And I'm going to start populating this with some LEDs and soldering them on. And then I'm going to add the power connector so I can periodically test it. And then we'll be able to start piecing it together and figuring out some of the other issues that are going to come up with this. So these are all lined up. So the positive of the LED is on the top. There's one. And here's another. And I'm going to need to pull some more out. So I guess I'm going to go ahead and I'll put them a link to them down below. Because I like these LEDs. They're just a bit more expensive. And I was going through and cataloging all my LEDs, I had a bunch of loose LEDs. I was trying to get it all kind of straightened up. Steal one off of there. And then I came across these again, and I was like, wow, why haven't I used these? I bought like 3 packs of LEDs, different colors, and these were the RGBs, and they're diffused, and they look really nice. The actual animation, there's a chip inside the LED, inside that little 5mm plastic package, and that chip controls how fast or how slow they change colors and in what order they change colors and all of that. And I like these. These are Edgelec. I don't know if I'm spelling that right or saying that right, but I do like them. And heck, you know what? I'll put them up on my Amazon wish list, and if you want to buy me some to support the effort here, feel free, as I can do more projects like this and make YouTube videos about them. So that's got that. Now, it's also entirely possible, as I do this, that I didn't get that one particular resistor in place properly. Oh boy, my soldering iron's a mess. Got to clean that off. So I'm going to add a power connector, and we'll see how well this works. That means I should be able to, if I have done all this design right, and I promise this is the first time I'm actually trying with this circuit board, with the power connector on it going into the case, it should just slide right in there. Oh boy. That's the whole oopsie thing, and that is when it matches up the way you want it to. That's nice. So, ow, that was hot. Let's see. Oh, I neglected to consider the legs of the power connector are actually sticking out the back, so I probably need to change this design just slightly to allow for that. But I want to plug this in and make sure the power connector is in the right place and all the rest of that. And we'll see. All right, we got red. We'll turn off this light. We got green. And let's adjust the exposure. Okay. Yeah, I don't know how well that's going to come through, and eventually those LEDs will all drift out of sync. So I'm going to let this run for a minute. I'll let you watch. Then I'll come back with it all completed with the LEDs. All right, it's dark because I wanted you to be able to see what it's looking like right now, and it's a big mess around here. So let me put a couple of things away and tell you, I only had one resistor that didn't actually successfully connect, and I had one LED fall out, which is why I've got my solder sucker. I had to get that put back in. I had to clear the holes. So that is where I am. I've got this together now. And I'm realizing as I look at this that it is making, as I look at it in person, and it's really hard to show on video, I can see the individual little LEDs on there, but they are really diffused. And it dawned on me to take this sheet, another sheet of this stuff. I've got 2 sheets of it in there. If I add another one, you'll see it cuts it down even more. It makes it dimmer, but also it spreads the light out more, so you don't see the individual LEDs. Let me actually make this flat to demonstrate that a little bit better. It's actually now, the color is now radiating out, or the light, sorry, is radiating out behind this sheet. So I think I actually need to go from 2 sheets down to 1 sheet. And let's take a look at what that's going to end up looking like. Let's pull the circuit board out. Well, let's just turn it off. We'll pull the circuit board out, and you'll be able to see. Now, let me see about the exposure at this point. Yeah, see, now it's a little too dark in here, but this is what it looks like with just the LEDs. good. At least you can kind of see the individual LEDs. So that's what that's looking like. And as long as I'm standing up doing this, let me see. I can pull one sheet out here. Knock it down to just the one. The other thing I have done, I did with the previous one that I did, was I just got some like sheet protectors for the clear plastic, like the ones you used to use in school for reports and for like the cover of a, well, if you're as old as I am, that's how we used to do it. And use that for clear plastic, so it protects this particular diffusion material just in case, somebody decides, oh, let's, it's getting dirty, let's clean it up or something like that. So let me try and put this up over here. I'll give you a rough idea what that's going to end up looking like. So see, now I'm going to plug this in and it'll be all red. Okay, I can see the individual LEDs, but it's swamping out the camera now. So let's turn it back down again, and hopefully that looks a little bit better. Yeah, that's more what I was expecting to see, and if I let it go for a little bit, you'll see that the individual LEDs, they all have their own chip, and that chip, the timing on it is not absolutely perfect between them, so it tends to float out of synchronization. Probably the best way I could describe it. So that's what you're seeing now. You'll see like one color will start coming up and then it'll fill in the rest of that color. And now you'll see another color start to pop in, and it does that. And then the hope with this was that the colors would kind of mix together. But with the diffusion material, it was just a little too much. Let's try putting this on. See, yeah, it has to do with the focal point, too. So that's kind of an interesting thing. All right, well, I'm going to leave it with just the one piece there. And now let's see what we can do with the tape and trying to block the... If I move this up, you can see it's radiating out the top there. Which, if that's what you want, if you want to just put green LEDs in there and have a nice green glow for some alien effect or something like that, there you go, there's your green. You could do that. So that's possible with this, but the idea originally was just to make it look kind of like a display. And I don't want to have the light coming out the top. I'd rather keep it inside. So let me unplug this, and let's see what we can do with the tape. All right, I got one layer of tape on here, kind of around near the front. It's still going to shine out the back probably, and still shine through the frame of the display here. But let's just see if that helped the situation or not. Let's see what we get. Okay, there's a bunch of red. Yeah, actually, that's doing fairly well. It's still radiating out the back here. And it's still radiating out the front of the frame. But if I were to take the time to really carefully put some tape over here, or I don't know if, like, spray paint would help the situation, if I could do that. Oh, interesting. I'm also seeing... Oh, I see why. I was going to say, I can see the jack that's plugged in here, but that's not exactly it. It's the material here has actually fallen down. It's not stuck to the front. That's still a thing I need to figure out, is how to kind of glue it in so it doesn't do that. Or 3D print a piece that I can stick in there that uses this white material as a diffuser, because that seems to be diffusing really nicely if you look along the back here, because I've got the black circuit board. So that is something else to consider, or even actually another circuit board that I could stick inside just using this material and make it a pressure fit. The only problem with that, let me unplug it, is that, let me see if I can, there we go. Okay. I have these two little bits up here, which are actually for mounting the circuit board in there more permanently. So that's actually something I haven't tested, so I'm going to go ahead and test that one live on video. And let's see if these itty-bitty little screws that I bought, these are M2 screws, 5mm M2. And that's what those holes are supposed to be designed for. And let me get a screwdriver. Hopefully it's not too big to fit in there. Let's see if I can't put this. Well, some of you may be wondering why only 2 screw holes. Well, this is a small enough model that I'm not too worried about. Oh yeah, that is going in there really nicely. It threaded in. Now, I did not have it 3D printed with thread. What I did was I made it that little post that I had on each corner for a 2 millimeter screw, I put a 1.9 millimeter hole, just slightly smaller, so that when I drive the screw in, it should create its own thread. And it seems like that's working. It's actually holding the circuit board in. Now, I still have the problem of the diffusion material up here, but we've got a working model now. If only I could figure out the gluing that stuff in. Just trying to get it to sit right, because it is somewhat of a pressure fit. Yeah, I'd say that's about as good as this is probably going to get. In the future, what I'll do with these models is print them in a color other than white. Not some color that's not so light, so that the light can't radiate through it. I know that it works with the black material, the black resin that I had the first one printed in. Unfortunately, the third one I had printed was also in white, and that's a larger one, and this is all part of a bigger project coming up that ultimately what I want to do is I want to model at whatever scale. I want it to be scalable so I can change it. 1/12 scale, 1/6 scale, 1/10 scale, whatever you want. Initially, I think I'm going to go for a 1/6 scale, just because it's going to be a bigger display and it'd be easier to assemble with the circuit boards, and it still keeps the circuit boards within the limits of prototype setups. If you're having them manufactured as prototypes, is what I'm trying to say. It keeps it within those particular limits. 1/12, though, is something that I am working on, and what I'd like to do is a sort of a dollhouse-sized, not necessarily for a dollhouse, but just picking that particular size, a 1/12 scale for a TV, but I want to make it a 1970s replica TV. So I have this one for phase 1, which is just simply the proof that I can get this to work, which I've done. But the next phase, which I'm working on right now, is to have it as a tabletop TV. So you're going to see not only the screen, but you're going to have little knobs on the side and a frame around the whole thing. And then actually, because those knobs are going to be so small at 1/12 scale that you can't really operate them, what I will do is on the back of the entire unit, there will be a couple of knobs that you can actually turn that are bigger and more manageable. So it'll be hidden. So if you were to put this in some display, then you'd have, say you've got this against a wall and you've got walls on either side. I'm kind of trying to do this to the camera here, that you would not see the back of this. So if you position it right, you don't see the back of it. Also, if I do it right, I can have a little hole where you can have a wire coming out, and that would be the power for the actual model. And you could try and scale the wire. It's a little tricky trying to figure out the exact scale of the wire and whether or not you want to go to that much detail, but it's just a thought. It's interesting kind of getting into miniatures and being able to create a display that looks kind of like a TV, and ultimately it would be interesting. I could get an little LCD panel and put it in there and simulate an actual TV, have it actually playing video on it. That would be a real dream to get that done. But that's like phase 4 or 5. I don't know. I haven't planned out that far. So this is phase 1. Phase 2 is coming up, and then we'll figure out phase 3 is going to be a full-on console. So we'll see how all that works. And with that, hopefully this video comes together reasonably well, considering the lighting issues that I'm having, but maybe you can see what I'm trying to do here. And if you're interested, definitely chime in. Leave me a comment. Let me know that you're interested in this, and I'm going to I'm going to keep going anyway, but I'd like to know if other people find this stuff interesting. Thank you so much for watching.